makes it very clear that God never tests men with evil and with sin. Let no man say that he is tempted. I am tempted of God. A more literal translation is this: let no one man being tempted say, I am tempted of God. Notice that James is no longer using the noun temptation as he was previously. He is now using the verb. He is speaking of the action. The natural uh, propensity of mankind is to blame God for his own fumbles. All of his fumbles, foulables, all of his faults and failures and filth. From the very beginning, since the time of the fall of man, this has been true. Adam said, the woman whom thou givest me uh, to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 12. He really passed the buck. The woman did the same thing. She said, the serpent beguiled me. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 13. Actually, all three of them were responsible. We often hear questions like this: why does God send floods and earthquakes and allow the killing of babies? We blame God today for the result of the greed and avarice and selfishness of mankind. Uh, that is what is really responsible for floods and earthquakes. Man builds too close to the river, and when in the natural course of events the river rises, he calls it a flood and an act of God. But man thinks it is most pleasant to build by the river and is nearer transportation, and that is where the business is. It is actually the greed and avarice of man that causes him to build where it is really dangerous to build. If you're going to live in Southern California, for example, you're going to take a chance on having an earthquake. You can be sure of that. We had a small one just the other evening, as my wife and I were sitting in our den. The seismologists predict that we are in for a big earthquake here, yet people are still streaming into Southern California and putting up high rise buildings. We ought not to blame God if a slab of concrete falls off one of those high rise buildings and kills one of our loved ones. It would be much safer in the world uh, in the wide open spaces of Texas. I'm a Texan. This is McGee and not me, but who wants to go back there. I know it's nice there uh, than when I was just a boy growing up, but I want to stay here in California. However, I'm not going to blame God when the earthquakes come. I have already seen warnings that it is coming. I talked myself out of moving to California because of earthquakes, wildfires, and of course, now it's politics. But man also blamed God in their philosophies today. Pantheism, for instance, says that everything is God, but good is God's right hand and evil is his left hand. Fatalism says that everything is running like blind necessity. It, if there is a God, they say, he has wound up this universe like the 8 day clock and has gone off and left it. Materialism explanation of the problem with the human race is that the leftist aspiration and the vilest passions are the natural metabolism of a physical organism. And I'm going to put a